course is for anyone who needs to add a name and address record in their role in council. You should already be familiar with finding your way around authority. If you are not, then you should undertake an authority navigation course prior to this name and address course. You will need to have permission to access the parameters menu in the name and address section of the authority menu. If you don't presently have this permission, you will need an authority administrator to add this for you. This course is about the Authority Name and Address module, commonly known as NAR. Our focus will be on how to add new NAR records, but we will also explain how NAR relates to the rest of authority. We will look at adding NAR records and inquiring on NAR records. We will also look at maintaining and modifying NAR records. At the end of this course, you will know how to add and maintain NAR records and will understand how NAR relates to other authority modules. Every individual, company or other entity who deals with council in any way needs to have a NAR record. At minimum, the NAR stores a name and a primary address, but it can also store phone numbers, email addresses, postal addresses, birth dates and various other details. The NAR record is always stored in the central name and address module and is connected to each module that it is used in. The benefit of this structure is that we only have to store a person's name and address and authority once, even if they have many different accounts with council. For example, a person may own 2 or 3 properties, so they'll be the owner of the rates assessments and water accounts. The same person may also be a service provider to council, meaning they'll have an accounts payable account, and perhaps the same person also has a cat and a dog, meaning they're also an animal owner. Only one NAR record is required though, and it will be linked to all of these accounts. A key benefit to this structure is that when changes have to be made to a NAR record, they only have to be made in one place. This eliminates the potential for discrepancies between modules in the details of a person or company's name. Council policy will determine who has access to the NAR module. In some councils, just a few administrators will add NAR records and perform all maintenance. In other councils, most users will be able to add and maintain NAR records, with the NAR administrators just reviewing additions and changes. If you are in any doubt about your council policy on this, your supervisor or authority administrator will be able to clarify this for you. We are now going to take a tour of the NAR inquiry and talk about the various tabs, buttons and fields on the screen. The inquiry screen has 2 tabs, Main Details and Further Details. On the Main Details tab, we see the main name and address details for the person or entity displayed. Here, we have 5 lines or fields. These fields contain what is known as the formatted name and address. The formatted name and address is constructed by authority by applying the rules specified in the NAR parameters to the name and address data entered in the maintenance program. Here we have a summary of the related account information for the NAR. Related account is the term used within NAR to mean a module account and authority where this NAR is used. The number of related accounts indicates how many module accounts throughout authority are using this NAR. In this example, there are 4. The financial figures are an aggregate of the debits and credits for the module accounts using this NAR. This figure in the debit balance field in this example indicates that one or more of the related accounts are debtor-type accounts, such as rates, water, or accounts receivable. In this example, the credit balance field is 0. This indicates that John Smith is not presently owed any money by council. If John Smith was a council creditor and his accounts payable account had some unpaid invoices on it, the credit balance field would indicate this. The unposted receipts field indicates whether any receipts have been taken but not yet updated for module accounts using this NAR. If this field has a value other than 0, it would indicate that John Smith has paid part of his debt to council, but the receipt is presently awaiting update. The most likely reason for this would be that the payment was made today. Generally, receipts are updated at the end of the day. The net balance field shows us a net summary of the fields, taking into account any unposted receipts. In this example, we can see that Mr. Smith has not made any payments which are waiting update. So across all his accounts, Mr. Smith owes council a total of $6,199.99. The main details screen shows only the summary information for related accounts. If we want to actually identify the related accounts, that is, see exactly where this NAR is used in authority, we can see this by accessing Related Accounts in the Name and Address pick list. Alternatively, you may add this as a button on your Favourites panel, and we will look more at related accounts a little later. Here we see the individual data fields relating to this NAR record, as well as the NAR number, alpha key, and date of birth. The alpha key is a very powerful search field that is used throughout authority to help you find names. The alpha key is made up of 12 characters and is created automatically by authority when you add or modify a NAR record. The specific rules for the alpha key are different depending on whether the NAR record is for an individual as compared to a company. In the case of an individual, the alpha key is made up to 10 characters of the surname, followed by up to 2 initials. The initials are always at the right-hand side of the field. So if the surname is less than 10 characters, 1 or more spaces will be added between the surname and the initials. The diagram shows the exact placement of the characters in the alpha key, where the surname is less than 10 characters. Where the surname is longer than 10 characters, it will be truncated at 10 characters. Positions 11 and 12 are reserved for initials, even if the person has no second name. In that case, the person's initial would be in position 11 and position 12 would be a space. A company's alpha key is made by taking the first 12 characters of the company's name, including any spaces. As an example, let's use Civica's company name, Civica Proprietary Limited. The key to finding names using the alpha key is to make good use of your wildcard character, the asterisk. You can use the asterisk more than once in a search, so if I wanted to find John Smith, I would type into my alpha key Smith asterisk J asterisk. The asterisk is used any time I want to ignore other characters, including spaces, in my search. Moving across from the alpha key, we come to the name number. This number is the unique identifier for the NAR record in the Name and Address Register. This NAR number is used to connect the NAR details to other records in authority. It is automatically assigned by the system when a new NAR is added. The title displayed is based on the title code chosen by the user who added the NAR record. Title codes control the way the name is formatted and are part of the NAR module setup. Sometimes title codes are set up so that no title is included in the formatted name. Council will have decided whether or not to use name titles when implementing authority. There are a number of other fields here, such as gender, marital status, and date of birth, and these are fairly self-explanatory. Now we'll take a look at the Further Details tab of the inquiry screen. The address fields will only display values if the NAR is using a street address from the Council Street Register. If an out-of-area address has been manually entered into the NAR, these fields will be empty. The phone fax information is held here. In the Miscellaneous Details section, we have fields for an email address and homepage URL, document exchange identifiers and communications numbers, such as a system IP address. Pension details are also stored on the NAR record. The pension type indicates the granting body, such as Veteran Affairs or Centrelink. The pension number is the actual number on the pension card. In this section, we also find ABN information for GST purposes, or an ACN in the case of a company that is not registered for GST. The module and account fields are for searching only. No information displays in these fields once records have been retrieved, but the search feature allows us to find the NAR belonging to a particular related account. The Notice Preference field is used to store information about the preferred method of contact for this individual or company. This field is optional and so is for information only. The seniority flag can be used in cases where more than one individual has exactly the same name. This scenario might typically be seen in family groups where a son is named after his father. Any single character can be used in this field, so we commonly suggest an S for senior and a J for junior. This allows us to tell the records apart thus avoiding confusion about which NAR record relates to whom. The New Links flag shows whether a NAR record is allowed to be added to new accounts or not. Typically this would be set to yes. If set to no, the system will prevent users from being able to add this NAR record to any Authority module account. In addition to the Main Details and Further Details tabs, a number of other screens can be opened from NAR Inquiry. The Program toolbar has a name and address pick list that shows the various other screens that can be accessed from NAR Inquiry. These options can be added to the Favorites panel for visibility and easy selection. Screens that have no information for the currently displayed NAR will have their buttons and pick list options greyed out. These options with blackened font labels do contain information for the displayed NAR. Earlier we looked at related accounts and described what constitutes a related account. We can see the specific accounts that are using a NAR by clicking on the Related Accounts button. The Related Accounts screen shows us the module and account of all master records in Authority that are using the selected NAR. In addition, this screen shows us account balances and the active address for the module account. Often the active screen address will be the same as the main NAR address, however some module accounts may be using an account-specific postal address. When we're done with looking at related accounts, we can simply cancel to return to the main inquiry screen. We can also view postal addresses and contacts if these have been added, or look at the history of changes to the selected NAR record. Earlier we saw how you can search on the alpha key, however the NAR Inquiry screen has numerous other search fields. If you click Find in the NAR Inquiry, you will see that criteria can be entered in practically any of the fields on the Main Details tab. Less obvious is the fact you can also click into the Further Details tab and enter Find criteria in any of these additional fields as well. Remember, use your asterisk wildcard when entering just a partial value as a search criterion. Try this out yourself in your test system. We will now turn our attention to creating a NAR record. Most commonly, a NAR record is created as part of adding some other record in Authority, such as a rates assessment, an account receivable, or an account payable. Anywhere a NAR number needs to be added as part of creating some other record, we have the option to either choose an existing NAR or create a new one. In this example, an account payable is being created. If we tab off the name number field without using the zoom or entering a value in the field, the NAR maintenance program is automatically launched in Add mode. Many of the fields in this screen will be familiar from our earlier discussion of the NAR Inquiry program. The title code defaults as per the NAR module parameters to the title code most commonly used. However, if the name you're adding is of a different type, simply use the zoom to select the correct title code. If you know the title code you require, you can simply key this into the field. If you choose a title code of CO, the company name field will be enabled and the other name fields will be blocked out. If you choose any other title code, the company name field will be blocked out and you will instead have access to the surname and given name 1 and 2 fields. If you're entering a name for an individual who has more than 2 given names, enter the third given name in the same field as the second given name, with a space between the 2 names. When you tab into the address panel, the fields you populate will depend on whether the required address is contained in the Council Street Register or not. For addresses that are in the street register, enter the house number, then select the street from the zoom. Note that the street lookup screen is searchable, so rather than scrolling through a long list to find the street you want, use the Find button and key part of the street name into the grid with the asterisk wildcard, then click OK. Only streets matching your search criteria will then be displayed in the lookup list. When you select a street and select OK, the street and block numbers will be returned to the NAR maintenance screen. As you tab off these fields, the formatted address will populate into the address line fields. If the address you need to enter is not in the Council Street Register, you need to leave the top address fields empty and tab down to the address line fields. Key the address lines into these fields manually using as many of the 3 lines as required. Ensure you enter the postcode only in the postcode field, not in the address lines. When you tab off the postcode field, the postcode will automatically be added to the last address line. In some cases, the address may actually be a post office box rather than a street address, and this can still be keyed into the address line fields. However, if you have both a street address and a post office box, and the mail is to go to the post office box, key the street address into these address line fields, then add a postal address as we'll describe later. If you have a street block nominated, the address lines become non-editable. If you have accidentally entered a street block but want to enter post office box or out of area address instead, in order to make the address lines editable again, you will need to delete the number from the street block fields and tab to the address lines. This will remove the previously linked street register information, making the address fields available for other information. A name and address is the minimum requirement in order to be able to save a NAR record. However, often you will also want to include other information as well. Populate other fields as necessary, such as the email address, the date of birth, gender and marital status, ABN number, etc. Note that the phone number on the name and address tab is display only. The phone number is actually entered on the phone fax tab. As you complete the fields in each tab, the tab key will take you to the next tab of the screen. The familiar name field can be used to store a nickname. For example, a man named William may be known as Bill, so we can enter Bill in the familiar name field. This field is optional. Although it is possible to enter the pension type and pensioner number in this screen, we don't usually recommend you do this here. The normal place to enter pensioner details is in a rates data entry program, which also updates details of the assessment the pensioner owns. So typically the pensioner fields are left empty when initially creating the NAR. When the necessary fields have been completed, you may click OK or function key 12 to save the record, and then quit or close the NAR maintenance program. This will return you to the program you were working in, for example, account payable maintenance, with the new NAR number selected into the NAR field. The NAR creation process is now complete. Sometimes when you're adding the new name information during the NAR creation process, Authority will pop up a duplicate names screen. This happens when Authority has noticed that the name you're entering is the same or very similar to the name on an existing NAR record, and this is a check to help prevent the creation of duplicate names. If this screen pops up, simply check the details that are displayed to see if one of the existing names is actually the one you want to use. If it is, select it and click OK. This will abandon the NAR addition and select existing NAR, taking you back to the screen where you were working prior to trying to add the NAR. However, if the names displayed, while similar, are actually different individuals or companies as compared to your new NAR, simply cancel this pop-up and proceed with your NAR addition. We have looked at how to create a NAR record from another Authority module account, and this is the way a NAR is usually created. However, you should also be aware that if necessary, you can create a NAR by accessing the name and address program directly from the menu and clicking the Add button. We will now look at maintaining or modifying an existing NAR record. We may need to do this because someone has moved location, changed their name, or wants us to record a postal address or contact name for them. To modify a NAR record, we first need to select the NAR we wish to work with. If we're in a program such as Rates Inquiry, we could access the NAR maintenance program by linking through from that screen. Alternatively, we can simply click on Name and Address in the menu as already shown, and then find the record we wish to work with. After entering appropriate find criteria, we can click OK to locate our NAR record. To change any of the details stored on the name and address details screen, we need to click Update and then edit the appropriate field. We would do this to change the name, the main address, the phone number, and any other details visible in the 3 tabs of information on this screen. However, if we wish to add a postal address or a NAR contact, we won't click Update. We will simply click the appropriate Favourites button or select an option from the pick list. If we click Postal Address Add, the postal address screen will open in Add mode. We can record the details of the postal address and then click OK to save it and close the program. Notice that once you have saved a postal address against a NAR, the Postal Address Add option is greyed out, and instead the Postal Address Maintenance option is enabled. A postal address recorded against the NAR will become the global authority-wide override address for any correspondence sent out to this individual or company. Be aware, though, that you can also create module account postal addresses. If this is done, the module account postal address will override the global postal address for any correspondence set out from that module account. In addition to a postal address, we may also want to add a contact to the NAR. This would more commonly be done for a company NAR than an individual. Simply click the Contacts option and complete the required details. As with postal addresses, contacts can also be added at a module account level as well as directly against the NAR. Certain modules use contact records to store email addresses for things such as purchase orders and creditors' EFT remittance advices. For this reason, it's important to understand that a module account contact will override a global contact for any processes that use the contact record. If the NAR details have been modified after creation, the History option will be enabled. Clicking on History opens a screen that shows the change history for the NAR. This is a very useful audit feature within the system as it captures the time and date and the operator who made the change. There are other options within NAR that are beyond the scope of this session, such as adding privacy groups to a NAR record. If your council uses privacy groups, your supervisor will be able to advise you how and when these should be added to your NAR. We have now completed our training session, and you've seen how to inquire on NAR records, add new NARs, and modify and maintain existing NAR records.